Oh, that's my pen.
You're right.
Speaking of that, I want to know what, first of all, how did this project get started? Like,
Yeah, so people watching this, like maybe know me probably best for like Thomas Was Alone, which is a pretentious game about rectangles with feelings. Sorry, moving, a powerful, emotional journey,
man.
right?
I liked it.
So I made that many years ago, and since then, Volume, which was a stealth game, and then some text adventure games. And basically what happened was I was a massive John Wick fan. I went to the cinema with a mate of mine who'd been a producer on a couple of other games we'd made. Wasn't very to see an action movie that was not great, which I'm going to pretend for the cameras. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And we came out and we were talking about it, and he was like, that movie was not as good as John Wick in the action scenes. And I was like, no, it really wasn't. He was like, weird question, if you were to do a John Wick game, what would you do? And I was like, well, the obvious answers, like maybe a shooter, something like that, but that's not going to let you do the whole kind of getting in the head of John Wick thing. I guess I'd probably do a strategy. I know it'd be weird, but I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, go make a prototype, because what I didn't know was he'd been hired to come and find someone to make the John Wick game. And basically tricked me into an audition, essentially. And then we went away, we started prototyping, playing with it, making the bad version, we started off with, it was essentially like, XCOM, but with one character.
Sure.
So you'd like move forward, and then you have like 5 guys all take their turns to move. It was terrible. It was like the AI were playing a better game. So we were just kind of threw that out and ended up building something from the ground up, which is all about that kind of John Wick interruption, basically. So you can see on the gameplay there, at the top there's that timeline. We're calling it like a timeline strategy game. That's the word the PR folks told me to say like 5 times in this interview. That's one. That's one. I'll get 4 more in.
Can you say
that? It was
a
timeline strategy game.
A timeline strategy game?
It was a timeline strategy game.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
It's the timelininess of
Did you
strategy
hear what he
game.
said?
No, I actually didn't. Would you
Sorry,
mind
it was
repeating that?
timeline strategy.
Oh, timeline
Yeah.
strategy.
All right, contract fulfilled.
But yeah, so you're playing on that timeline at the top. I'll just wait for them to get to the next level on this.
Okay.
So everything happens concurrently. So in a sense, everything's running in real time. So everyone's moving at the same time. But in between all of your actions, you get a moment, the game pauses, you get to decide what to do next. So it plays into exactly what you see in the movies, where it's not so much about John doing something, then the bad guy's doing something, and back and forth, which would be boring and slow and dull.
Sure.
It's instead about John having 3 guys in front of him, all of whom are going to shoot him at the same time, and figuring out, okay, I've got time to stun that guy, which buys me the time to shoot that guy, which does this, and you're kind of layering up those decisions all in that moment. And what feels like a heartbeat, you actually have the time because of the strategy element of it to figure that out. You can see there, like, him queuing up, he's got 2 guys, he's knocked one of them down, he's now finding his shot. Shots have probabilities based on like how someone's moving, whether you're crouched. Your ammo is like accurately modeled, so if you reload with a half-full gun, in most games that just adds bullets.
Right.
Here, you lose those bullets because they're in the magazine you're putting out. It's that logic of the John Wick universe that you want to pick your moments to reload. Essentially what we did, and it's weird being up here with Twitch, we basically treated the 3 John Wick movies, at the time we only had the 2,
Sure.
because we started before 3 was done. We treated that as a let's play. We said, this is the best player in the world of our game. All we have to do is make the game that character's playing. So the optimal strategy for this game is to play as John Wick and to make John Wick decisions. And then we just kind of worked back from there and went, well, why is he throwing his gun across the room at that moment? It's not, we can't treat it like it's just because it's cool because it's a movie.
Right.
Because that's not how Chad treats it. That's not how the stunt team treats it. They have their reasons, they have their logic behind that stuff. So then we sit down and we talk to Chad and we go, okay, why does he throw his gun across the room? And we get those answers and we start to work out how we can kind of abstract those to gameplay systems and just kind of work back from there.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that if you go back and watch like some of the action sequences of John Wick, there is a thought process.
There is, totally.
It's what position am I in after I punch that guy? I'm in this position, which gives me angle on like a femoral artery, or like gives me an angle on like a shot through the chin or something like that. And then I throw the gun because it's it's useless now because it's out of ammunition and that kind of stuff.
That stuns that guy over there, so you can go back. It's exactly what you're saying. It's a really cool thing you just said. The whole, when I punch that guy, I move over here. That's jiu-jitsu. So an early version of the game, we had kind of your standard kind of melee attack. You stand on the spot and punch each other. That's not how John fights. So most of our melee attacks.
That's how I fight, though.
That's how
I fight like.
I fight by running away in the opposite direction. That's my approach. But like so as you're doing most of our attacks in this game, they actually have movement built into them. So you're choosing to strike someone, but you're also choosing where you want to end up afterwards. That might actually happen here. Looking at this, is he going to do a takedown? No, he's going to do a strike, which is the one melee attack in the game where you stand on the spot. Let's do something that's different. Let's do a takedown or a push. Okay, so a push does melee damage, but also moves you through the space.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you're using that to work out. So if you're by a corner and there's a guy coming around to shoot you, and you want to melee that guy next to you, you're using the right melee attack to relocate you, so you're getting behind a moment of cover at the same time as you're doing damage. So it's all about, it's like you say, it's figuring that stuff out.
Yeah.
And if you were playing a third-person shooter, you wouldn't have time to make any of those decisions because you're going to be circle strafing around, kind of hoping for the best, like all of us do.
Yeah.
We could put you in a suit, we could put neon lights behind you, but you're not going to be playing like John Wick.
Right.
This gives mere mortals like you and me a chance of actually creating something that feels like a John Wick experience. And then at the end, a little button that's grayed out, which says replay on it.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to talk about that button at all.
God,
It says replay.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the replayability of this seems infinite because I'm already looking at this thinking if I were playing this,
How would you do
I would
it
want to
differently?
go back and do it differently.
Well, what's really fun, so we do a lot of play testing, and that's kind of how we make the game work for players. And we play test it with lots of different groups. We play test it with people who are really into their strategy games. We play it with people who've never played a strategy game before, and we try and kind of make something which, you know, a newbie can kind of get in and clumsily kind of figure out and learn what they're doing. A strategy player's got all of those shortcuts that are going to help them to play the game well. But you know what's really interesting is the biggest differentiator we've found between people who are good at the game quickly and people who take a little while to learn it is if they're John Wick fans. Because the John Wick fans, they just start playing it like they've seen in the movies.
Yeah.
And because the systems are kind of doing their jobs, they're rewarded for that. It goes well. It's the people who are trying to play it like a cover shooter where they're kind of ducking behind walls all the time or playing very defensively.
Yeah.
Those guys are screwed. The people who run out, punch a guy, do a thing, flick a thing, do that, like they're actually kind of playing like they've seen in the movies. Those guys are the guys who get it instantly, and it's great. It's awesome to see that work.
Now, I would never be forgiven by anybody watching this if I didn't. I heard a familiar voice on the trailer. We all know that voice. He's the concierge of the hotel. Or concierge? Maybe that's not the right word, but we know who
concierge.
he's. Concierge.
There's a concierge in the hotel.
Of the it's neutral ground.
Sure.
Are we gonna hear any other famous Keanu voices? I mean voices.
There's like 5 PR people at tactical points in the room, and they've all been playing this game, so they know how to get me. I'm not allowed to talk cast, I can't talk story. The only thing I'm allowed to say, because I checked, is I can say it's a prequel.
Prequel.
That's the one story thing. So it takes place before the first movie, before he meets his wife Helen. You're seeing an earlier stage in his career.
You're seeing him at his bad old days.
You're seeing the glory days.
Yeah. All right. So you get to see like how he acquired the chest that he kept under concrete.
There are lots of things that could happen in the game.
Oh my God! Are there Easter eggs like that in the game?
I mean, it kind of feels like John Wick's a universe of Easter eggs, right? Like that lore, that kind of story space that's there. And that's honestly a big part of why I love it. My games are often very story focused. They're very much about building this kind of, world building, I guess. And what's great about the John Wick universe is they kind of hint at so much stuff, and there's so many interesting shadowy corners that you can just focus on one or two of those areas and just kind of go and investigate that.